do wild stuff in this movie. It's very exciting action that you see in the film, but we did it all very safely and we took the time to do it. You can actually do really amazing, eye-popping things with horses. You just need the time to train them. You need months to train them, to get them ready to actually be able to do it so they don't get hurt.
He keeps alive with this Colt 45.
It's wonderful to have that humane sticker. That's why I put it so early in the closing credits. So to relieve audience members, to know that, oh, this was just make-believe. Everything is okay. This was just a fun adventure to watch, and nobody was actually hurt.
The horses are as important as the people in this because, you know, I've always said the people have a choice. The horses don't really have a choice. Quentin, he doesn't want to see the tick on the side of the horse get injured. He doesn't want to see a bug crossing the road get run over. He wants what he can get out of everything to a point, but hates injuries.
Our stunts team are a group of rock stars. No one has ever done the kind of stunts with horses, with no animals injured, that we pulled off in this film.
The Western is, you know, it's coming back little by little, and it's fantastic. But to do it right for Quentin, and knowing that he's not going to want to cut it up in chunks, that's hard work.
There's a lot of other stuff that's been done, but not like this. It's got that Quentin Tarantino twist to it.
Our big scenes are running down the hill and the big explosion. I think we had about 35 horses in that scene.
Yeah, at least. I'm not sure of the numbers because we had extra horses, but I think 35 horses ran down the hill. You know, it's my 37th year doing this, and this is the show I've been waiting for. I've wanted to do something like this all this time. And knowing how many friends, kids, and relatives and everything I had on that, it was blissful stress.
It's really John McLeod and Dash and Rusty really putting their time together and timing everything out perfectly and just practicing. I mean, practice, practice, practice. So once those horses all charge down the hill, Dennis Wagon has to blow up.
For the explosion. Reading the script, obviously the first thing that popped in my head was how many horses are going to be falling, and Quentin said, you know, it would be cool to kind of have maybe 7 or 8 horses fall. And I want it to happen from the explosion. You know, Quentin's, he wants big shots and he wants them real. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I need 15 falling horses because I don't think ever that they'll all go at once. So if he wants 7, I'm going to have 15. If we get 7 to go, we're going to be lucky. If 8 go, we're more lucky. If 10 go, we're killing it. 14 horses fell.
Pass out the torches, please. Light them up.
Everybody good? If you need another rehearsal, raise your hand.
The rehearsal time was months. I replayed it in my mind 100 times. And before we started shooting, we did a rehearsal for Quentin. And it literally was all the horses all at the same time, which I've never seen. Nobody has seen that many horses fall at one time.
Remember the cadence. 3, 2, 1, action. The explosion at 2.
We tested it probably 5 or 6 times leading up to the night we did it at varying scales, trying to figure out what everybody was going to be happy with.
Okay, let's clear out, guys. Quietly, please, for picture.
The humane guys were brought in. We talked to them. Everything was approved and pretty much went off without a hitch.
Ready, and 3, 2, 1, go!
Auf Wiedersehen.
There were so many people to thank for their hard work, the wranglers, the guys that train the horses, the guys that bruise themselves up. Having 1,200 pounds fall on you you have to be really good at it. You have to know what you're doing.
3, 2, 1, go!
I had 3 of my sons working on it, and it was very satisfying because there was 3 different generations of stunt people there, from grandsons to sons to fathers. They were all there.
You know, ever since I was a kid, I, for the most part, have worked, you know, with my dad. That's basically how I started. And it's nice because, you know, I feel the most comfortable with him. I know how he does things, and he's real big on safety, so.
My kids they grew up in it, you know. Wranglers and cowboys and stunt people, it's a cultural approach to life, you know. They're generations of their family have been doing this kind of work.
I'm third generation in this business. My grandfather, my father, my mother, they did every Western from the late 30s all the way through the John Wayne era. I was raised on a Western movie set.
Now my little brothers are following also. My little brother Chad is starting to come into his own and work a lot. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, I've always known it to be a family thing. And even the stunt guys that my dad grew up with, we've known, you know, our whole life, and kind of, you know, a lot of them I call my uncle because it's, you know, we're all just a really close-knit, you know, group.
Bill, I'm going to be down here with Johnny McLeod.
I was a proud father, a proud uncle. I was proud of everybody that night. I guess we can stop talking about that because I could go on forever.
Dash was amazing. Old school, great guy, great crew, man, all those guys. Teaching me how to I knew how to ride a horse, but not really ride.
For a guy that has accomplished everything he's accomplished in his life, Jamie started at the bottom and he got better every day. And it didn't happen by accident. He worked very, very hard at it, and he never missed a training day.
When I got here, he had gone through a series of different horses trying different things. And one of the horses that he had been taking lessons on was his horse. And immediately we took that horse and we started training on it to become a movie horse.
I got a chance to ride my own horse in the movie, which was great. But my horse wasn't used to sets. So Dash was always saying, look, the horse is going to be a little spooked when those big screens come down, so just be cool. But they got me doing tactical things, so I knew what the horse could do. And that was really necessary because at any point, you know, something could go wrong. And having someone like Dash who was just always there to make sure we were completely thorough all the way up until where I'm riding bareback. And he says, listen, you know, you got to ride it a little further than we thought. But if you feel like you want to jump off of the horse, and you're falling, just jump off. And I was like, all right, cool. Now the horse takes off and it's going 30 miles an hour. I'm like, how am I gonna jump off this damn horse? And we actually executed great, and he runs up to me and says, I'm thinking as you're about to fall off that horse, he says, I hope this guy didn't do anything that I told him to do as far as jumping off of, because it would be the biggest mistake in all of our lives. And we got a real cool kinship. You know, I really bonded with those guys, and which was really special.
These people, Rusty and Monty, my new friends, they know about horses. It's absolutely incredible. They really told me how to read the behavior, how to feel the movement, and then riding is really a revelation.
He's real into his part. He didn't want to just come out and kind of get the basics of riding. He wanted to learn how to hold your hands and how to sit and how to look, and came and rode more than anybody. Jamie and him were unreal. Even when it came to driving the wagon, he was great and just into it.
He has an eye of what he likes, wants it to look like.
Ta-da.
So he told me what he wanted to accomplish, and he's gone for it as fully as he could.
It kind of fit his character to let him be a little more elegant. Jamie is like the cowboy, let's go. Christoph is more refined. And you'll see Christoph working his horse in many different shots, and his horse bows for him.
This is my valet, Django, and these are our horses, Tony and Fritz.
But it didn't come without training. Christoph's a hard-working guy. Same with Jamie. This cast is unbelievably committed.
You kill people, and they give you a reward?
Certain people, yeah. Well, I'm Phil Reed. I'm a world champion fast draw artist, live ammunition, I might add. But I'm all training all the actors so they look like they're really hitting the target when they fire the guns and manipulate the old single-action guns. That's kind of my job.
Phil Reed.
Phil?
Phil Reed. T-H-E-L-L. Phil's one of those guys that if you saw him and you can picture yourself in the 1860s and you went into a bar, he'd be the first guy you'd want to slap.
I can show you a draw if you'd like to see a draw.
Can we stand up for that?
Yeah.
He's small in stature, he's unassuming, but he can shoot you 5 times before you can get the word I'm sorry out.
Now here's a fast draw. As you can see, it doesn't take much time to get him out in the fire. Let me slow it down a little bit for you.
And he's worked with everybody. He goes back to the John Wayne days. Every actor just about that you see spinning a gun and doing it really nice has been trained by Phil Reed.
Well, I started when I was 7. So I had a little head start.
Would you care to?
Jamie got really good with the gun, really, really good. I mean, he can twirl it any which way and land it in his holster. and you have no idea how he did it.
Well, it's kind of a flourish back to the holster. You know, you take the gun, you twirl it like this, it goes to the leather. It looks good. A lot of guys did that in the old West. Yeah, that's kind of what they're doing. Yeah, it's kind of like this, did into the leather. A little harder with the pocket, but you see the idea though.
Phil showed him what to do, and Jamie just worked at it. Jamie was relentless.
He has scenes where he has to do all this phenomenal shooting because he is the natural gunfighter of all time in this picture, and he could be too. He uses different guns in the movie. He'll pick up a Navy Colt, an Army Colt, a 58 Remington, and just work with both hands too. We got some scenes that are just unbelievable. I can see why he's won the Academy Award because he's an Academy Award winning pistolero also. You know, Jamie and Christoph both were great. It's fantastic.
It was another thing that I had to learn from scratch, because I'm not a gun person. I don't even have a fascination for guns.
Well, he is a great guy, and he really listens and he really practices. We started out training with the long-barreled Remington pistol, the old cap and ball 8-inch barrel. He had to hold the lantern out and drop it with his gun hand and draw and shoot. This guy, before the lantern hit the ground, he could do it. And that's hard to do.
Last chance, fancy pants.
Oh, very well.
Oh, this is great. I've always worked with Quentin Tarantino, my favorite director.
The bullet hits that we do on this show and the way that we choreograph the bullet hits, the effects guys put so much work into the hits and the stunt guys put so much work into making them look real that you don't want to just go bang, 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 bang and shoot everybody. So we map out and we diagram. These guys work perfect. Everyone's paying attention, everyone's so focused because they have bought into what we're doing. You know, how many times have you heard people say, why doesn't Quentin Tarantino make a Western? Well, we're in it. And it's happening, and everybody that's here wants to be here.
We brought in Terry Leonard, Buddy Joe Hooker, Walter Scott, and Hal Burton. And every one of those guys are probably going to hate it, but every one of those guys is over 70 years old. And they're all guys that have been in the business forever. Terry Leonard's a living legend, Buddy Joe Hooker, Walter Scott, Burton. We brought them in, got them dressed, and put them in the Big Daddy lynch mob. And they rode in their torches, and they had a ball. And they said that this is the best set they've ever worked on. They said, is he like this all the time? We go, yeah, man, it's like this every day.
No. I was going to say action, and in a beat and a half, you start your dialogue.
Since Quentin knows everything about every movie that's ever been made, just about, there's references in the script to a lot of great shots.
The name of the game is keep up, not catch up.
The good part is we have horses that we can do anything on. So Quentin referenced Taurus Bulbo when Yul Brynner walks up to a guy that gives him a smart aleck response and Yul Brynner pulls the guy on the horse over. From Wild Bill, there was a shot of a guy falling face first in the mud and not saving himself. It's basically like putting your hands in your pocket and falling nose first into the mud.
Now this is a little bit more stop it.
You know, we made Quentin a member of our stunt group, Brand X, so we think that much of him. He's going to act out just about every stunt in the movie, and he does it like he wants it.
And then, well, what do you hold it. Yeah, hold it.
If he expects you to do it, he'll try it himself.
He didn't fall flat face first, did he?
No, but he was ready to. It was like, no, we got this. You stay back there. If you don't like it, then we'll let you do it.
And now, Django, you may choose your character's costume.
You was gonna let me pick out my own clothes?
Yeah, but of course. I have big ideas when it comes to presentation. Yeah, he needs to have panache, a sense of showmanship.
When it comes to costume design, Quentin found his perfect partner, Sharon Davis, who is amazingly talented.
Sharon Davis, beyond. Her eyes, she had every little puff on the shoulder of the girls and the dresses just completely right.
She's all about the detail and all about the specificity and making sure that she's serving the vision of the director.
She took us back to that day, but there was a certain crispness to it. Like the way she had Christoph looking was amazing. Samuel Jackson's clothes were eloquent. Sharon makes the wardrobe a character.
The characters were so strong and the storyline was so interesting. Quentin knows every aspect of filmmaking, and you know his finger is on every part of the film. It's in the sets, it's in the lighting, it's everywhere, and of course it's in the costumes. He's definitely all hands on.
I think particularly when you're doing a period film, so much of who the character is wrapped up in the clothes and the shoes and the look, and she has such a stellar imagination.
There was nothing Quentin couldn't throw at her that she didn't catch, create, and exceed his expectations. I mean, she is one of his all-stars.
Every look I pretty much illustrated for all the lead characters. Django's first look is a slave look, and we didn't want too much of a caricature. We really wanted that authentic. We had to do a transition from the first plantation he was on as he was sold and this whole walk until he was bought. And then as we progress and Dr. Schultz and Django decide on this camaraderie, they go into a store and buy some new clothes for Django so he doesn't look like a slave, and Django decides, basically he wants to look like a king.
It was written to where Christoph's character picks the outfit out. And I was like, could I ask that we switch it around? And Christoph also suggested it too. I said, a slave who's never worn anything but a sack, no shoes, no nothing, he wants to pick out his outfit. He's gonna pick something that everybody's gonna see. I ain't picking no gray or no brown. What's that? And just a little side note, black folks like colors, man. I was like, man, I need that teal blue.
His name is Ken. He had a horse along the countryside.
And Quentin was absolutely right when the girl is looking at the clothes. You know how women are. Didn't you hear him tell you I ain't no slave?
So you really free?
Yes, I was free.
You mean you want to dress like that?
So that's why whenever we do get married or get a girlfriend, they always change. They go through our closet and say, why don't you wear this? Well, you mean you don't like the chartreuse maroon? Chartreuse is it's chartreuse. She was constantly on it, like, how do we make this character transition in his clothes as well?
Like the pine trees lining the winding road.
His final outfit, we do a more timeless look and do a cowboy, which is not really the period, but it's not the period either. Because in the far west, there was prairie look. It just wasn't popular in the South. But that's what Django decides he wants to be in.
Good morning, innkeeper.
Christoph's my favorite. After this whole show, I'm still excited to see what Christoph's gonna wear. The parameters on Dr. Schultz was he can only wear shades of gray.
That's accurate.
But gray is a big family, which is kind of cool.
Gray is not one color. Gray is endless variations in connection with the texture and the weave and the directions and the layers and all of that. It's marvelous. She's a fantastic designer.
Christoph can wear clothes like no one's business. Christoph can really wear clothes. It doesn't really matter. He can handle anything.
I'm Dr. King Schultz. This is my horse, Fritz.
I think his hat was the longest project of ours for Christoph, the perfect hat. We didn't really want it to be European.
Sure, that's him.
But we didn't want it to be Northern, so we actually morphed a hat. It's a combination of a derby and a Western hat. And it made him the bounty hunter he needed to be. And it kind of like sealed the deal in all the clothes. The brown suede jacket was one of my favorite outfits of Leonardo's.
Calvin Candy, even as the most evil plantation owner in the world, he's dashing and there's a charm to him.
What about my $500?
The riding coat was all Quentin. He said, Sharon, now imagine this like a trench coat, but in suede. But I know it's not.
He had this faux quality to him. He was trying to be this European, a sort of upper crusty aristocrat, but meanwhile, it was all fake.
You do not have anything to drink. Can I get you a tasty refreshment?
Yes.
It had this beauty to it, but also a certain amount of tackiness and audaciousness to his clothing.
The hat and the boots and the cigarette, all of it just put together is fun.
So, Hildy, how you like serving at the big table in the big house, huh?
It's just wonderful to work with Sharon because she's able to carry it through and manifest these amazingly wardrobed characters.
Broomhill was really fun to do. Quentin basically said, Sharon, show me what you think Broomhill is. So I did a few sketches, and luckily I worked with Carrie before, so I knew her body, and she's completely illustrated, and you can put her next to the illustration and she kind of goes perfectly into the look. Quentin, at the beginning, gave me a few ideas of how Django would see Broomhilda in visions. Like when he's going to Candyland, she's in a yellow pier dress that's from the early 1800s, just walking like the sun. And that just was like a ray of hope. It didn't really fit in the movie, but that's what Django's seeing. You know, she's a vision.
Sharon is just so intuitive, and she knows how to make you look your best. And she had a lot of fun putting Mogi together.
Good to see you again, Mr. Mogi.
Oh, Mogi. He was so fun.
Oh, this is the one-eyed Charlie I've heard so much about. Yes.
Quentin was there the whole time while we were creating Mogi.
Quentin talked to Sharon about the fact that he wanted to keep the palette for this character in lightness all the time.
Just like he wanted Kristoff in all gray, he really wanted Mogi in beige, with a little bit of color, just all beige. So that's kind of how we came up with his look.
Get free man Django here whatever he wants. And I'll have sweet tea and bourbon.
Sharon ranks up there with the best, and everything that she does helps bring my character to life.
You don't wear a hat in the house, white man, even I know that.
She just puts the stuff on and it builds, and she makes me feel comfortable in my clothing.
Have we seen beautiful period costumes in other movies? Yes. But Sharon really thought out Laura Lee in a pretty thorough way.
Now, where is my beautiful sister?
I decided for her first change, we see her, she's dressed a little too young for her age.
This attractive Southern belle is my widowed sister. Darling, you are a tonic for tired eyes. May I present to you Laura Lee, Candy Fitzwillie.
Just a little bit of a Blanche Dubois kind of thing, but she pulls it off. And then for her next change, which is all these men at her house, she comes down like, you know, Queen Elizabeth. The tiara and, you know, royal colors. And so her whole life is probably putting on clothes. She's always themed.
The dresses she's made, whether it's the cupcake or the Mardi Gras dress, which is the one in the dining scene that's Mardi Gras colors, they're both so feminine, they're so show-stopping, but they're both totally believable as garments. They're not just movie dresses. They're dresses that somebody would have in their closet.
She put this outfit on, walked on set, and I immediately knew who Billy Crash was.
You better listen to your boss, white boy.
Oh, I'm gonna go walking in the moonlight with you.
You wanna hold my hand?
He just became this amazing character. He's the best dressed of all the overseers I've done. I mean, because I've put so much into making 90 guys look different. They have one or two costumes, and I have to make them individuals, and that's the biggest challenge I've ever had to do.
The extras felt very well taken care of. It was a hard subject matter for them as well, and Sharon did a really good job of making everybody feel really comfortable.
This is a difficult period piece. There's a lot of heavy costuming for a lot of people, and she's doing it like it's a walk in the park.
Some wear jackets, some wear vests, some wear shirts, some wear double shirts. How they carry themselves is really important of how I'm going to dress them. If they're more statuesque, I put a jacket on them and make them a little more gentlemanly. But if they come in and they're very scruffy and look like they don't take showers, then I dress them down. I dress the slaves from each plantation by the plantation owner. For Old Man Karakran, I kind of took the color out there because it is like a flashback. I did great silhouettes with just almost no color. And then when we went to Candyland, you can tell who's in with Boss Candy and who's not. The slaves that are with them are dressed amazing, and then the ones way out in the field are really rough, and then the mandingos are showing off their body, you know, basically. Big Daddy's plantation was more colorful, and the women, of course, were more beautiful, and they were better dressed. And even the people in the fields just seemed a little happier. Because to me, he was a little more benevolent. So that plantation, I kind of lifted it up a little bit.
What if I was to say I don't like you, and I wouldn't sell you a tinker's damn? Now, what you got to say about that?
I know how Quentin likes Don, obviously, in Miami Vice. So when he came in, I thought, Big Daddy. Let's do a little Colonel Sanders with Miami Vice and just kind of put it together and see what I can come up with.
Who are you two jokers?
Like a sexy Colonel Sanders.
You know, Quentin had ideas and I had some thoughts, and gratefully Sharon Davis saved both of our asses and came up with the linen suit, you know, and the little petite string tie, because you know they wore a lot of cravats and stuff back there.
He's a first fitting. He's a first fitting off the illustration, and that's when Quentin said, "Oh my gosh, that's perfect. He looks exactly like that." And that's when oh my gosh, yeah.
Big Daddy is basically your everyday run-of-the-mill pimp in the 1850s.
I love Don. He brought great touches.
This is my contribution. Can you see those? These are my contribution. These are the snakeskin boots that I thought were just, you know, if I didn't have them, the character wasn't right. I mean, may as well just scrap the whole movie.
There'd be no Big Daddy.
There'd be no Big Daddy.
We were so blessed to work with a very talented production designer on this movie. Quentin met with Michael a couple times, and Michael was so excited. I mean, I kept getting emails from him being like, I would love to do this movie.
He was so passionate about this film. He'd say, honey, this is going to be the best credit you've ever had on your resume. He said, this is going to be the greatest film we've ever done.
Well, when I first read the script, I loved it. I mean, I couldn't put it down.
You in the saloon. We got 100 rifles aimed at every way out of that building.
It was a combination of every spaghetti western that I've loved, I grew up with, plus a very serious subject about slavery, which is always tough to deal with and very taboo. But he handled it in his usual kind of serious light kind of fashion.
That's really good.
So I decided I got to do it.
Michael really saw Django's journey, but more in a geographical way, and he was able to really visualize that.
The important thing about this movie for me and what we first settled on in the very beginning was that authenticity is important, you know, respect of the period, but authenticity should never be something that stands in the way of a good storytelling. So the movie has a bit of a lyricism to it.
There's a fine line between doing reality and riding on that edge of the spaghetti western. We took detail away. We didn't put as many outbuildings. We didn't put as many trees in. We didn't want to distract away from the performance.
Michael, just a man so comfortable with such a huge task.
Sit down, my boy.
He transported us back all those years, and it looked exactly the way it needed to look. Everything down to detail was amazing.
The first time I ever met that man was on Congo. A friend of mine said, come on, it's the easiest job we have. It's all Riva, it's all art direction. I said, okay. So I go over there and I see this man and he's planting these little plants in front of this like African hut. And I said, hi, I said, I'm supposed to help you. He says, okay, yeah, get on your hands and knees here, honey, and just start digging. Just start digging. We'll start putting holes and we're just gonna put these plants in here. I said, okay. So I get on my hands and knees and I start talking to him. And I said, my name's Hope Parrish. What's your name? He goes, I'm Michael Riva. I said, oh my God, you're the production designer?
Riva has done amazing work across so many categories. He's not just building sets, he's getting involved with props, he's personally finding the locations. He's just everywhere on the film.
Going on location scouts with Michael is the best time of your life. I mean, we find incredible things, but it is one of the most rewarding and fun times.
We would have 2 scout vans, and the boys would always be in one, and we were in another one, and they'd all just get out and laugh, and it was a real boys' club, but in a really great way.
We found a great little town north of Los Angeles, and it was beautiful. We fixed it up, we added things, we added gallows, we redid the saloon inside. You fill it up with people and horses and carriages and mud in the streets, which Quentin and I both wanted lots of mud. Then Bob Richardson, I think, did a spectacular job of lighting it. It was all kind of very smoky and dark, and we had smoke all the time. And the smoke just hung there in the street, so it was perfect. It was ideal.
At one point in the film, we were going to build Greenville at Melody Ranch and give the entire place a facelift. Then as Quentin really developed what Greenville was, we started looking at open lots around New Orleans, you know, the industrial areas and so forth, to build, you know, the slave auction and the streets. And by the time it got, that Quentin had gotten what he really wanted for the film, we realized, Michael and I went out on the side of the studio and went, we can build it here. With all the slaves going through there and walking in the mud, and we had the snow candle ash coming down. And it was beautiful.
I'm Dr. King Schultz. This is my horse, Fritz.
What kind of doctor?
Dentist?
Quentin decided that he wanted to have one as a dentist, a dental wagon. And so I showed him some pictures of, wagons of the time, boxes basically with wheels. And we picked one that we really liked, a real kind of wood slatty, very run down. It's not a very professional looking thing. It's not all black and slick. It's kind of thrown together. And then Quentin had this idea. He says, I want a tooth sitting on the top. And I want it to kind of wobble like a bobblehead. I said, okay.
What's everybody staring at?
And then Quentin asked me, he said, I want you to take the tooth, and he's got to put a place to put his money. So he said, what do you think if we put it in the tooth somewhere? I said, well, let's just cut a little hole like a wall safe. He said, yeah, let's do that. Of course, the tooth got damaged all the time because it wobbled about like this, and it hit trees. So we've made maybe 20 of those teeth and had to repair them. And then I put a filling on the top, a gold filling on the top. So it became a very hilarious little bit. Every time you look at it, you laugh.
Dr. Schultz! Good to see you again.
Colors are important to me. They're mood establishers. And I really clearly saw Leo's character as the devil. So I wanted to surround him with as much red as possible.
White cake. I don't go in for sweets, thank you.
I loved the color that Michael Riva painted the study, that deep, deep burgundy red. In Quentin's mind, he saw two big red leather Chesterfield wing chairs. And I thought it was quite beautiful when it was done.
Prost.
For Django and Schultz, it seemed to me that they were Western heroes. They were the warm nicotines and the ambers and those kind of colors. So I tried to keep those colors in each set. And as the movie went along, I tried to bang into those colors a couple of times, contrast and stuff. And at the end of the movie, things get darker, things get redder, things get more serious. Blood is red. So for me, it helped to separate the two worlds that come clashing together.
I love the contrast. Here's this pristine, gorgeous, monumental piece of architecture. And then at the end, the contrast of the blood all over the walls, the bullet holes, the bodies everywhere was fantastic.
It is an absurd period. He gets it. He gets the decadence and how perverted this world really is.
Well, I part company from many of my phrenologist colleagues, as I believe there is a level above bright.
At the party, Calvin Candy's talking about the supremacy of white men over black men, and you get this really eerie, horrible feeling. So Quentin and I kind of talked about, and we were right on the same track about this, about now you're getting in a carriage and you're going to this guy's house. What you're set up for and ready to feel is this horrible looking place that's deep and dark under shadows and stuff, and where really bad stuff could happen. They're going further and further into hell. And rather than that, we decided to go the other way, which was to, what a surprise. It's like Disneyland. It's very, very pretty, it's inviting and very welcoming. Big flat area, a little bit Wyeth-y, like Days of Heaven, very simple, clean, not foreboding at all. And I think we achieved that by just having it centered in the middle there. And we let the bad stuff happen inside.
You stay right here.
The interior flowed straight out of Michael's head and Quentin's. For instance, in his initial writing, Quentin saw the dining room as being upstairs because he wanted a particular shot up and down the stairs. So unlike most reality, we put the dining room upstairs. So sometimes you had to sort of tweak reality. A plantation in Mississippi at that time would not have had gas lighting. There was no municipal gas lines to something like that. You could have had what were called oil burning lights or candles, and we had to figure out how to get that across. You want to do things for real. You don't want to burn the set down.
Hey, little troublemaker.
You want to see the flicker and put it where it will be seen. And we had to figure out what was where and how we were going to use it.
Evergreen was just beautiful. It set back from the street. It had these two spectacular stairwells coming down that were fantastic. And I liked that. I thought they were great.
We actually went into the field across and went up on the jetty and said this is the perfect long entryway It gives the DP, Bob Richardson, a lot of different variables and different angles that he can shoot it. That whole entire area since the 1700s was sugarcane, not cotton. We got together with different greensmen and said, what can we grow in a specific amount of time that will resemble cotton? And it came up with several different types of plant, but it was fava beans, and that kind of worked. It's a very good facsimile for cotton with the cotton balls on top, which we did put in. And there were about 395,000 of them that we made and put on the plants.
And then they had this big piece of property in the back that we took over and bulldozed and created 2 acres of grass and built our other mansion, which is a little different. And it had this road that goes for almost 4 miles. It's just a straight road right to the front door. And I thought that was very effective and dramatic. It was perfect. It was like our own back lot.
Rodney, Chicken Charlie, y'all get your ass over by that pier. Come on, Charlie, come on now.
Life around that plantation, it was a horror, but the irony is you're surrounded by beauty. You're surrounded by, sunsets, sunrises. It was spectacular, beautiful.
I remember the day when Michael passed away and everybody was on the set. It became different. It became, let's back up a little bit and just really realize how blessed and charmed we are.
He was so passionate about this film. He loved everything about this film. He just kept seeing more and more and more. And that was what was the beauty about him.
He loved his crew, he loved his family, he loved his work, and his work on the film is staggering. He finished designing every frame of the film before he passed away.
Those sets in Candyland and Bennett Manor and all those places and how it looks great, he did his job.
Michael was fantastic. He was such a lovely collaborator, and I just treasured him for that.
In a lot of ways, I trusted him like I trust my father. We were his other family. When he did pass, it was like, oh my God, how do we go on? How do we do? And that night, we all made a pact. We're going to make this. We're going to do the best. We're going to do it intuitively the way he would want us to do it and show Quentin everything that Michael would have wanted us to show him and keep that same 125% mark up, because that's what he'd want us to do.
The day after he passed away, everybody was in the office, and they said, what would Michael want? Would he want to have a day of, mourning for him? Shut down the crew? And I kind of smiled at that, kind of bittersweet. And I said, if it was me that went, he knows how I would feel, and I know he shares the same thing. And I said, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. And that's what we did.
The last time I saw him, he was setting up for Greenville, which had come and gone, and we're shooting it and we're not shooting it, and he was really great at rolling with the punches. He put his arm around me and he's like, now look at this, and he just showed me all of Greenville. And he goes, and I'm gonna put a shack over there, and he was just like a kid in a candy store, a man in his garden. He was a really lovely, lovely man.